Good evening, I'm Yodit Tewolde, and this is Making the Case. R. Kelly's racketeering and sex trafficking trial is finally in the hands of the jury. After weeks of testimony, deliberations got underway this afternoon. We've got a lot to discuss now that we're officially on verdict watch, and we have our experts here to give us a breakdown of the charges, the deliberation process, and the emotional weight of this trial on the accusers and the jury. In over more than 4.5 weeks of testimony, prosecutors have tried to paint Kelly as a violent predator who spent years physically, emotionally, and sexually abusing women, girls, and boys. His lawyers have tried to portray the accusers as obsessed fans, liars, and opportunists. Here's what happened today. Prosecutors wrapped the rebuttal to the defense's closing arguments. That was followed by several hours of jury instructions from the judge. Deliberations officially got underway at 1:40 p.m. Eastern Time and stopped for the day around 5:30 p.m. The jury has now been sequestered, with deliberations resuming on Monday. All right, let's get the discussion going with my panel of experts. Music critic and contributor for The New Yorker, Jim Derogatis, who's covered R. Kelly for decades, and veteran prosecutor and BNC's legal contributor, Paul Henderson, who's been with us covering this trial from the very start. All right, guys, before deliberations began, the prosecution responded to the defense's closing arguments. In his rebuttal, the assistant U.S. attorney said, quote, "Kelly believed the music, the fame, and the credibility meant he could do whatever he wanted." Jim, you've covered R. Kelly and his legal issues for decades, but this moment of reckoning feels different. Why?
Well, I think that the prosecution case with 45 witnesses and hundreds of pieces of evidence, it spans, they said 25 years in their closing argument, but victim number one was 1991, Tiffany Hawkins. She was 15. So this is a case that is 30 years in the making. And, the tragedy is why it took so long for a court of law to listen to the almost exclusively women of color who were victimized by this.
Paul, why do you think this moment or do you feel this moment is different?
I do think it's different. I think people are very much aware that there were charges earlier, decades ago, that R. Kelly beat, but we are not in the same place. I think it's very clear that R. Kelly used his celebrity inappropriately, and he used it in a way that made him a criminal, that made him a predator. And I feel like the prosecution really laid out a clear narrative that has spanned decades of continuing behavior where people were victimized, where people were treated badly, which was criminal behavior. And that's why we're here, and that's why we have this trial in front of us. I feel like they've done a decent job of presenting a pathway for the jury to find him guilty, and I appreciate that they talked about the history and the time span to put in context how long R. Kelly has been behaving in this way, not as a celebrity, but as a criminal.
All right, so you talked about the prosecution laying out a clear case. Well, Paul, the jury started deliberating at 1:40 p.m. Eastern Time today, and then hours later, they sent the judge requests for several exhibits. Any correspondence, Paul, from jurors after they've been given the case can be very telling. What can we glean from their notes to the court?
Well, let me just say that very telling is an understatement. It is the most stressful thing in the world when you get a note back from the jury about evidence that they want to see from the case you just presented, especially in a case like this where you've spent weeks presenting tens and tens of victims and documents. What comes out can sometimes be very telling or not at all, but from the lawyer's perspective, it's a clutch your heart moment because you don't know what they're going to ask. And so in this case, where they were asking, I think one of the questions was for an overview of the layout of the recording studio that they asked for. That could seem pretty innocuous, but it's difficult as one of the lawyers involved in the case not to try and read into it as to what that means. Are they trying to discover and see what people could have seen or known in that layout, what they knew or should have known from what was going on? Were they trying to evaluate the credibility of the victims that were saying that they were in specific rooms when specific criminal acts took place? There's no way to gauge that. I will say, though, it's not surprising to me that they have questions about some of the specifics of the testimony, given the volume of the testimony in a case like this, and given the timing, because it's difficult, I think, for a lay audience to digest all of the voir dire and all of the jury instructions that are given to them at the conclusion of a case that seems separate from the narratives and the arguments from the lawyers.
Jim, throughout the trial, we saw the prosecution talk about how those in Kelly's inner circle helped Kelly run this criminal enterprise. You wrote a piece for the New Yorker this week titled, "Why is R. Kelly standing trial alone?" So why is he?
Well, this is the heart of the matter, and Paul, of course, is the expert. RICO, the racketeering laws, are really misunderstood in popular culture. I'm a guy from Jersey, I was thinking, if you indicted The Godfather, where's Tessio and Clemenza? But RICO in itself, being named part of a criminal enterprise, is not in itself a crime. But it allowed, in a canny, perhaps, strategy, if it backfires, it will have been a huge mistake. It allowed the prosecution to bring in crimes on which the statute of limitations had lapsed, crimes spanning 30 years, to throw out the names of these many enablers and assistants. There were literally dozens mentioned in testimony. There were a couple of key assistants who are indicted in the second federal case that Kelly faces in the Northern District of Illinois. It's entirely possible if they win a conviction, we'll see a slew of indictments of some of these other people. If there's an acquittal, it may all go away. But Kelly still faces a second federal case, just like Harvey Weinstein faced two, one in New York, one in LA, and he faces a state case in Illinois and a state case in Minnesota.
So he isn't going anywhere. All right, Paul, let's talk about specifics with these charges. 8 counts of violating the Mann Act, which prohibits sex trafficking across state lines, and 1 count of racketeering with 14 underlying acts and 6 Jane Does. Which counts look the strongest to you, and which are the weakest? Now, the jury wanted Sonia's testimony read back, so could that mean they could be undecided on the counts related to her?
I don't think so. They may be trying to drill down and focus on her testimony and be arguing amongst themselves as to what they thought was relevant. I think that testimony was more relevant rather than less, which is why they raised the question in the first place. To me, as a prosecutor, though, of course, that is an indication that those are the charges that they're starting with that stood out to them, and that's not surprising. The narratives about young women and young men of color that were victimized allegedly by R. Kelly, and those narratives were some of the most powerful in this case. And so the fact that some of the first questions that they had were about that narrative is an indication to me that they found those testimonies to be more credible rather than not. And that would tend to lead us to surmise that they are likely to be moving towards the racketeering charges and the actions that took place on more than one occasion with some of those victims. But again, that's me reading the tea leaves about that question, and that's my lens of how I think the testimony went in and what I think the jury was paying attention to.
Jim, last question to you. Despite weeks of graphic and horrific testimony, people stood outside of the courthouse supporting R. Kelly. During the rebuttal, the government said of Kelly, quote, "He's not a genius, he's a criminal, a predator." The dozens of supporters outside the courthouse still don't see it that way. What could a guilty verdict mean for Kelly, the music industry, and for women, specifically black women?
Oh, well, Yodit, we could talk for 2 hours about that. Listen, I'm a music journalist. I'm a music lover. I understand the power of I Believe I Can Fly playing at your kid's kindergarten graduation, and Step in the Name of Love being a wedding song. And Ignition Remix powering every backyard barbecue and family gathering you ever had. In many ways in the black community, that music is yours as much as it is his. But to dismiss the women who yeah, Paul was right. There's 2 men. They're not charged specifically linked to charges against Kelly, but to dismiss the women who are your daughters, your cousins, your aunties, your sisters. I don't know, from December 2000, the first story when I sat with a young woman who showed me the scars on her wrists where she tried to kill herself after sexual contact with Kelly that began when she was 15. I've never been able to stop bringing it back home to those victims. And I don't know how, no matter how much they love the music and no matter how many valid criticisms they have with the white justice system, I have a lot. I don't know how you can support this man with so much evidence against him.
All right, journalist and music critic Jim Derogatis, thank you so very much for joining us tonight.